Welcome to New Mexico Black Rifle Operators Union. I'm your host, Sean. So tonight, I wanted to take a break from all the other crap that we've seen in the world and started thinking about something interesting. More interesting than that. I mean, we're in those little places where we have to look at, is the world ending, or are people just not paying attention, or is there a ton of crap going on, and holy crap, just in general. I mean, I'm talking about the stuff that's going on in Israel, and when you see people like Rob Ski from AK Operators Union, and you see Mike from Mr. Guns and Gear, and they're talking about, what are you going to do in one of these firefights? Because it's inevitable, it's going to happen because of what I talked about last night on last night's podcast. We don't know what's coming across our south border. What I wanted to talk about, though, is a little more interesting to me. What your fictional character hero is matters. There's a lot of people that pick up on these fictional characters like John Wayne from The Shootist and Brewster Cogburn, and they think they're going to be this guy or that guy. I'm one of the ones that likes the more modern era. I like Jango Fett. I like John Wick. I like the lead character, Greasy, from Man on Fire. And what does it show? All three are driven. All three have something that drives them past what is normal. In John Wick's case, he lost his wife. So there's a loss of family members, and he's very attached to his current sphere of what he has. So they take his car, they kill his dog in the first one. A spoiler, I guess. It's been out for a long time now. And he retaliates against the organization, the people that did this to him. Jango Fett. If you don't know Jango Fett's backstory, let me give you a little bit of that. Jango Fett, his entire family, his entire clan was slaughtered by Jedi. Okay, there's a reason why he was willing to become the template of the Grand Army of the Republic, because he knew deep in his heart of hearts that this Grand Army was going to destroy the Jedi. So if their family is destroyed, and everything that they thought they knew was destroyed, these people were driven by those things. I don't know exactly why I'm drawn to these characters. I've lost my mother, I've lost my father. I see society in this weird place where it could do better, but I don't see it as completely lost. And the reason why I don't see it as completely lost is I look at my kids and I see little seeds of hope. Even in my most liberal kid, my oldest daughter, she is very much a fan of rights, equal rights, and a fan of being able to take care of herself. So much so that I gave her her first Glock pistol. Or not Glock pistol, SIG pistol. Because she shoots a SIG a hell of a lot better than she shoots a Glock. But why did I do that? It's because I was building legacy. And I guess each one of these characters, now that I think about it, have a legacy there. They have some backstory that brought them to where they're at. And when I look at my kids and the future of the United States and the future of the 2A, that's what I see. I don't see my daughter being helpless. I don't see my son being helpless, either one of them. Okay? That's what I want for society. I hope to God that nothing like what has happened in Israel will ever happen here. But the odds of it happening are pretty against us, meaning that there very well could happen here. We don't know what's come across our southern border or what's come across the ports, especially during this administration. And as I was saying, when you see people like Robski, who is definitely trying to be non-political, he's just a gun guy. But Mike from Mr. Guns and Gear, he's a little more political, he's more libertarian. When you see these guys come out and say that you need to have a rifle or a pistol, and you need to know how to use it. And then when I went out tonight, because I got tired of staring at four walls after writing for about 2 hours, I decided to go out and have a beer. And I talked to some people that I always talk to, and one of them was the bartender. And he's new to the 2A. And I guess I'm kind of one of those people that they gravitate to. The new people in 2A come to me, and they want to learn stuff from me. And he asked some very poignant questions about he's went and shot his new pistol, and there's some issues that have arisen, and he doesn't know how to resolve them. And I walked him through some things to try. Now, the point of fact is that we should all have a mentor, someone that you can talk to in the 2A, someone that won't make you look stupid, someone that doesn't care about where you are in your walk with the 2A, just like your walk in faith. Your walk in faith is your own. Your walk in the 2A is your own. But you need someone to ask those guiding questions to that can answer them, you know. And why I say when you look at your heroes, it tells you something. John Wick, as an example, is a very advanced shooter. He's a very advanced person in the 2A. Jango Fett, while completely fictional, you know, he is also in that place of being an advanced shooter. This is something I've strived to be. You know, I've taken multiple classes to learn how to shoot pistols and rifles in an advanced way. And it shows, I hope, to the people that I shoot with. You know, last weekend I got to take a guy out who's a listener of my podcast and a friend, I would say a brother actually, and he got to experience the AK for the first time. And I didn't expose him to AK-47. I exposed him to AK-74. Why? Well, number one, I wanted to show off the gun that I built from the ground up. Number two, I wanted to show him what a modern example of an AK is. Because he has those parts of the American military that shows the AK as kind of not a good thing, just what the bad guy carries. But the AK-74 is a very different animal from the AK-47. This goes back to what I was saying about being a leader, someone that you can trust and someone you can talk to, someone who can give you these pointers and show you these things that you don't understand or don't know. You know, I'm calling back to like the gun show I went to, kind of ran a booth along with my friend who runs Go Rogue Ammunition. If you're looking for training ammunition for pistols, can't find anything better, can't find anything cheaper, and it's local. But he hires me to work these gun shows because I know a thing or two about guns. I'm not extremely boastful about what I know. I'm very approachable about what I know. But I try to translate that information to the people, to anyone I talk to, so that they can use those tools as they're intended to be. You know, where I'm connecting all these dots is that's how I see my heroes. You know, my fictional heroes. John Wick would do the same thing if you were in a circle. Okay? Jango Fett did the same thing with the Clone Army. You know, would they do this for you? Would you do this for them? And in today's world, where you're watching these people do very horrible, heinous acts in real time, what is your reaction going to be? And that's what I find myself looking at after watching this stuff that's been going on in Israel. And it's hitting home a lot because I could see this happening here. Anyone who's ever experienced gun violence in a very public way, in a very violent way, because there's no other way that can happen, you start looking at what you can do to mitigate that from ever happening, period. I don't want to see innocent people die. I don't want to see people that are capable of stopping a threat not able to stop a threat. What I want them to do is to be the most capable person possible. And I guess that's why I've gravitated towards those heroes, those fictional heroes, is because I see them as the most capable people to do what they're going to do in those storylines. You know, Django eventually trained the Grand Army of the Republic, him and his Kuvuldar, his Mandalorian trainers. Again, you'd have to get deep in the mythos to understand what I'm talking about in the Star Wars world. But you look at John Wick and you look at what's coming out with Continental, and you're seeing those pieces put into place where you had to come from somewhere. You had to have some sort of origin. What's your origin story? What's mine? Well, my origin starts with my dad, my pop. That's what we called him. Dad taught me how to shoot. But Dad didn't just stop with, the hunting aspects of shooting and the basics of gun safety. Dad transitioned very early on with me how to use a rifle practically. Not just for, hunting game, but how to defend yourself. The very first rifle I had that my dad started training me with was a German K98. How do you load it properly? How do you load it fast? How fast can you cycle through that bolt to get rounds down range and effective at doing it? These are things that new shooters don't know. These are things that people that are looking at the circumstances of the world right now, they're starting to ask themselves. This guy tonight, he has a Smith & Wesson M&P, and he's had some minor hiccups. The first thing he asked was, is it normal for a gun to jam after, 1 or 2 magazines? Well, the answer is no, it's not, but it's not out of the realm of reality. Because some guns actually need to be worn in, and they need to have that place where they're reliable. For me, that's around the 300 to 500 yard round range before I can trust a gun 100%. But if you're not a shooter that shoots a case of ammunition, so that's 1,000 rounds at one time, how do you know? He knew to ask me. What'd I tell him? Hey man, maybe we need to clean and lubricate your gun so that it works better. Or maybe it does need a wear-in period. But I know for a fact by the model and type of gun you have, it's a good gun. And I know for a fact after seeing it in practice in shooting classes that is one of the guns that I would actually consider carrying myself. I don't actually own one because I'm a Glock boy. But having a Glock and having an M&P aren't that different. And that's what we need to get past in this world that we're going to. There's too much debate between the 1911 guys and the Glock guys, which one is better. Truth of the matter is, they're both the same. They serve one purpose, to defend yourself. Can you make it do it? Can you make it work? And if you can't, it doesn't matter what model of gun you have. And it doesn't matter your budget either. Because if you have something like a High Point, for instance, maybe that's all you could afford. But we still have something in common. You see the problem. You see that we have this issue in society that needs to be addressed and no one's doing it. So you're willing to stand up and use whatever tool you have to get the job done. Whether it's a high point, a Glock, a SIG, a 1911. We all are the same in the 2A. And this is where we need to get past that. And that's where you have those conversations. Who are your heroes? Why? Because it starts a conversation that leads down another path. Because if your hero is like Frodo Baggins, he wasn't capable with weapons. But when the time came, he did what he was supposed to do. Same thing goes with like my heroes. If you look at those heroes that I just said, they're kind of intimidating. Especially if you think you can run like John Wick. I'm working towards it. People that see me on the range with a pistol have told me they can see something similar. People that see me with a rifle have said something similar. Depends on the day. You know, if I'm out plinking around with my friends, I'm not very serious about it. Because I'm just trying to get to feel what and who they are. Because if they're not so embedded in the 2A like I am, they don't know the level of training and skill that I'm willing to go to. They don't know that level of where I'm willing to hurt my body and get down in weird places and weird angles as I train to try to perfect the art of what we do. Because I hope to God I never get to that point where I have to use it. But if I do, at least I know how to do exactly what I said I was going to do. You know, being 45 years old, I've noticed that my knees aren't as awesome as they used to be. My shoulders aren't as awesome as they used to be. And laying yourself in a puddle, so to speak, on your knees in a weird angle to try to get a shot off and be accurate is different than when you were 21 or 19 trying to do the same exercise. It's how we are in life, how we walk through life that matters in the 2A, and how we match up to those people we talk to all the time. You know, no one wants to talk to the asshole that knows everything. And anyone who thinks that they're 100% an expert is probably wrong. That's why those gun counter dudes are always looked down upon. You know, I only express when people talk to me at a gun counter what I know from personal experience. Because it's different. You know, those guys at the gun counter that tell you all you need is a 12 gauge for home defense, and all the sound of the rack of a pump shotgun is going to scare people away. I think of it in different terms. You racking that round, that first round, just alerted everyone to where you are. And if you're trying to be stealthy and you're trying to take this person because they've intruded in your home unannounced, you've just announced to where you are. Now they know where that threat's coming from. And if they're armed, now they know where to point the gun. The other thing is with a shotgun, if you're inside of 10 yards, your pattern's a hell of a lot smaller than the guy at the gun counter told you. Because now you actually do have to aim that shotgun. Can you aim it? That's something that people don't know if they've only dealt with the guys at the gun counter and they've never dealt with the 2A people. Because if you have a mentor in the 2A, he's willing to take you out and show you what these things do so that you know something better when you go to actually do it. You know, I'm one of those weirdos that'll tell you the best gun for home defense is the gun you never have to use, but if you do have to use one, it's an AR-15 or a Kalashnikov. Why? Because you hopefully will have more contact points when you have a rifle, and you can aim it and be more precise with it. And in those moments where you're in your boxers trying to defend your home, you want that precision. You want that muscle memory. And if you don't have a rifle, then a pistol. Whatever pistol you have that's in your budget, you need to be so familiar with it that if you drop a mag or the safety's on or anything else, any other problem, you need to know how to remediate it and address it and keep going. And if you're in a pistol fight, you need to understand that if you do take a round, that's not the end of you. You need to keep fighting. Same with any other round. But if you get a hit with a rifle, now you're in a different game. Because now you may have gotten something that is fatally hit to you, and you only have seconds to finish the fight. Same thing with a shotgun. So what are you going to do? This is where your mentors, this is where that little question that I just asked, who are your heroes? Because it tells me a little bit about your skill level. It tells me a little bit about who you are. That matters in the 2A. You know, we can talk about all the fundamentals. You can talk about everything else. This one little simple question can give you a simple answer that can tell you a lot about where someone is in their walk in the 2A. So, what else has happened in the 2A? Well, let me give you a news update since I'm here. Well, Benitez, the judge that's in charge or that was presiding over the case in California about the magazine ban, his order to rescind the magazine ban has been blocked by the, I think it's called Anbach. I may be saying this wrong. The entire court there in California has decided that they were going to go against what Judge Benitez said. In the other places in the 2A, we are still winning. This one just shows that the court has become politicized, and we need to act accordingly. But more importantly, you need to understand that whether what court happens, what law happens, our founding fathers gave us this right to defend ourselves for a reason. And if you need a reason for yourself, if you're trying to debate this in your own head, all you need to do is look at current events in the world, such as what's happening in Israel, to realize that you have this right to self-defense. You have this right, you have an equal right to violence. Whether the state has a monopoly on that or anyone else does, you have the right to defend your own life. And anyone who's calling Israel's actions or Palestinian actions a terrorist action, you first have to look at who struck first. The Palestinians decided to go to a music festival and kill civilians. That is a terrorist act. Blowing up people that are launching rockets from civilian places, that is not a terrorist act. You're defending yourself. And there are collateral damages that happen from that. So Mia Khalifa can roll it in a cone and screw herself. And anyone who's backing Hamas right now can screw themselves. Because Hamas struck first. And whether you like Israel or not, if someone shoots at you first, they're your enemy. Like, share, subscribe, be great.